Hi everyone. I wanted to give you an overview of the Stop, Start, Continue results. Please do note that the results are from both of my online speech classes, so they might not appear to represent the thoughts and opinions of everybody in each of these two classes, but I combined them in one survey. And I wanted to just give you an overview of what some of you were saying as far as what we should stop doing and start doing and continue doing. I left off the comments with the question number 4 results with the concerns or comments because some of them were a little more personal in nature. So I'm going to just walk through some of these, explain some of my rationale for some of them, and then address some of the things I'd like to give you in response to some of them. So not a lot of stoppage. A lot of people passed this question or said nothing was applicable, but a couple of them were, as far as what we should stop doing, would be chapters and quizzes, the number of videos you have to record, the audience requirement, keyword outlines, and requiring a rough draft of the speech. So to address those, I'm unfortunately for you not going to change any of these, partly because some of them are related to state standards, and some of them help to ensure that you save enough time between assignments to do your projects and not have to do them last minute. And so it gives you a little bit of the writing process, if you will, to write, think, edit, get feedback, and then finalize, just as you would if you were writing an essay. So requiring a rough draft of the speech. Again, this gives you some time to prepare. It gives you feedback from both me and your peers, which I think the more feedback you can get, especially when you're delivering a speech to the audience, the better. And it helps to keep you on track of the assignments. You know, if you choose not to submit them, that's your choice. The points are not huge, but I would encourage you, whenever you can get feedback, to seek that feedback out. You do not have to submit keyword outlines, which are the notes that you use when giving a speech. Some of you might prefer to use note cards, and some of you might prefer to have, PowerPoint notes up for yourselves. Often I'm not requesting or requiring to see your speaking notes unless there's a question about whether you're actually reading everything. Some of you were recording with note cards in hand. That's cool. If you would like to use the keyword outline on Blackboard, cool too. But my main thing is, don't write everything out. Don't have a bunch of sentences and paragraphs on your notes, and don't read to us. The chapters and quizzes we're going to continue to do. As a department, we choose this textbook. We try to keep in mind the cost all the time for our students. Even though it can sometimes feel weighty, we do really strive to pick resources that are valuable and that are cost efficient for you. And because this is an online course and it has the built-in software capability to record speeches and allow us to give feedback to each other and me to see you and you to see me, quizzes are part of it, since you don't have that in-class, face-to-face lecture time, which in my face-to-face classes, I don't do a lot of lecture either. We do a lot of prep on speeches, and we do some extra activities concerning things like vocal clarity and speech anxiety. So the chapters and the quizzes are material that you need to understand, and they are a built-in part of the speech. The audience requirement is also something that as a department that we've agreed upon. It used to be a higher number that would be required to record the speeches. We were up to 6, 7, and 10, and that is reduced down to 4 now. And most of the reasoning is that it is still a public speaking course, and when you speak in front of people, it is different than speaking to a camera. I feel much less anxiety about speaking to a camera lens than I do about looking at human beings in the eye and making sure that I'm connecting with them. And you need that ability to read your audience. So that is why you have a speech requirement for only 2 speeches. And if you are in a face-to-face class, that would also be a requirement, obviously. So we're not going to get rid of the audience requirement anytime soon, mostly because it is a public speaking course. What, if anything, should we start doing? So I got several pieces of advice here or feedback here. Some of you have experienced, especially this last practice video, some problems with uploading times as far as how long it takes. Again, I would encourage you to never wait until 11 o'clock to record your practice videos or your final videos. Speech videos can take quite a bit of time to upload, and depending on the length, depending on the visuals or the media that you incorporate, and the time of day, your internet connection, all of those things can cause a rather large load. So if I were you, I'd give myself a cushion of 3 to 4 hours. That means you'd also be putting yourself to bed earlier than midnight and not having to stress about it. I know your lives don't always allow that to happen with jobs and families, but I don't know what the average load time is, and partly I don't know that because I think it differs for everybody. Again, there are people who live in rural areas who have not great internet speeds, and people who have a lot of things going on as far as their family hitting the bandwidth. You have kids and family members who are all online at the same time. So I don't know what the average speed is. I can certainly put out a survey, but I think what I might do instead is one of the bullet points below discusses having a discussion board, which you can use just to kind of talk about things or get feedback. So I think I'm going to set that up on both sections of my online course, just an always open discussion board where you can go to bounce ideas off each other, talk about frustrations or issues, and just have a space where you can talk that's not a graded space. So I will do that. More examples of speech outlines, sample speeches, and speech videos. All of the speech outlines that I would like you to use are on Blackboard under Speech Assignments and under the Outline Templates folder. There are some sample speeches in there. I can look at putting more on there as well. And then speech videos. I don't know if you automatically have access. There's an entire bank of them within your Cengage textbook online of sample speech videos, but I don't know if you have access to them, so let me check into that. Notes or PowerPoint summarizing each chapter. I think that the Cengage MindTap text does a pretty good job of summarizing each chapter, so I feel like that would be redundant. More constructive criticism, I feel like I don't get great feedback from my peers. I can completely understand this, and this is a piece of feedback that I hear from all of my classes as far as giving and getting feedback. And we have a real reluctance to generally give constructive feedback, and if it's at all critical, we feel like we're going to hurt somebody's feelings, and feelings can get hurt. However, I am going to upload to Blackboard an example of a peer review sheet that my face-to-face students use, and why I haven't given it to you, I don't know. That's an oversight on my part. But it will have some directed questions. I don't expect you to upload your answers to them, but it will give you some guidance as far as things that you should look for when you're giving feedback to your peers, and I will put that on Blackboard for you to see. So I'm making a note to myself right now to do that. And this big point here, I think this is a great idea. I will work on doing that on Blackboard. More time to work on speeches. The biggest issue is you are required by state standards to deliver 4 speeches and in 4 particular formats. And this is a 12-week course. And so that means that I'm dividing 12 by 4. That gives us about 3 weeks for each speech. And you'll have a little bit more for the persuasive and a little bit less for the tribute, since the tribute is shorter and you are able to read the tribute speech. But that's just the parameters of our 12 weeks together. So I wish you had more time too, but we simply don't. Go over more drafts and do a rough draft and get feedback. We do a rough draft, and I give you feedback and your peers give you feedback. I feel like if I asked you to do one more level of feedback or peer or rough draft writing, that would be a little bit too much, especially given the 12 weeks that we have. Get rid of the informative demonstration speech and do something else. We are kind of past the ability to change that at this point, but it's something that I would consider for future classes. And the demonstration speech, I think, is something that's easy to do hands-on and can be a little bit more fun and interactive for audience members, but I will note that that is something that I should reevaluate. And then what should we keep doing? As you can see here, many people, though there are some who don't like the quizzes in the chapters, there are several people, and I didn't put every response here. If there were multiple replies of the same type, I left them out. But multiple people said quizzes and chapter material. Multiple people said that they enjoyed the Cengage content. So for every person who doesn't like something, there will be a person who does. And so as instructors, we have to balance that out and give you content that is applicable to your course and to justify you paying for that textbook, using the textbook rather than letting it sit. Peer reviews and chapters are working. TED Talks are neat. We'll have more TED Talks coming. There's a week in here where I will be gone to a conference, and so we have some TED Talks coming for that. And let's see, number of speeches are good, activities on Cengage, etc., etc., etc. So based on your feedback, I will make a few changes. I will put some more materials on Blackboard, and I really do appreciate you giving me this feedback. I try to do this every time I teach an online class just because it's nice to know what's working and what's not, and you guys usually have some really fantastic ideas to help improve the experience. So thank you for that. I will post this document that you're seeing right now on Blackboard so that you can see it, and I will work this week on making some of those recommendations visible on Blackboard for you. So thank you again, and happy peer reviewing of your practice speech 2. I will get that peer review sheet up on Blackboard so that you can start using that and hopefully get a bit better at giving directed feedback to your peers. Thanks.